lesson 5-2. Today we're going to be talking about rational numbers. So we're going to be talking about how we're changing numbers, different types of numbers, into fractions, because that's what a rational number is. So a rational number is any number that can be written in the form of a fraction. There are some that don't. Now let's go ahead and look over here and look at the different types of numbers that we have in the rational numbers. So first you start off with the natural numbers, and that's just like the counting numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are called natural numbers. Then you move one step up and you have the whole numbers. Basically the whole numbers is everything that the natural numbers is and 0. So it's all the counting numbers and 0. Then you move up to integers, which is an even more broader category because it adds in negative numbers. Not negative fractions, just negative numbers. So -3, -2, -1, and then it also has 0 and all of the counting numbers in it as well. And then in our biggest category, we have the rational numbers, which basically rational numbers takes that next step and adds in fractions. So it includes mixed numbers, it includes negative fractions, and it includes numbers that repeat for infinity. So those are all those types of numbers. Now there is another type of number system, like the irrational numbers, and that basically adds in numbers that go on forever, but that don't repeat. So like pi, that would be a number that goes on forever, but that doesn't repeat because it goes on forever without a pattern. Alright, now let's go ahead and look at how we change different types of numbers into fractions. So the first type of number I turn into a fraction is the mixed numbers. So that is probably one of the easier ones to do because you multiply the denominator times the whole number and then add the numerator, and that will give you your new numerator. So if you do 3 times 5, you'll get 15, plus 2 gives you 17, and then you keep your original denominator. So that's going from a mixed number to a fraction. How you turn whole numbers to a fraction is basically you're just putting that number over 1. Because 1 as a denominator just says that it's a whole number. It's not a part of anything, it's just all of it. And then if you wanted to turn a terminating decimal into a fraction, you would start with your decimal, and then you would have to figure out what place value does the decimal end in. In this case, we have the tenths place and then the hundredths place. So since the decimal ends in the hundredths place, we are going to write this number over 100. So this is saying 48 hundredths, which is just how you would read it here. And then you go ahead and simplify it and take that next step. So we just kind of talked about that a little bit. So go from the decimal, read it to yourself, and that will tell you how to write it in fraction form, and then you simplify. Now let's go ahead and look at how you turn repeating decimals into fractions. Alright, now when we're changing repeating decimals into fractions, that's a little bit different than when we change just normal decimals to fractions, because we have the fact that it goes on forever. So basically we have to find a way to kind of eliminate that factor of infinity so that we can put it in some sort of fraction. So here are the steps that you need to take to be able to do that. So if you start off with a repeating decimal like 0.8 repeating, you would go ahead and write it as n equals 0.8 repeating. So this is just the number is 8 repeating. And then you need to go ahead and multiply each side by 10. Now, the reason why we want to do this is because we're going to be coming up with 2 equations, and we're going to be simplifying them so that we can cancel out that repeating decimal. So if you multiply each side by 10, it moves the decimal over one place, so instead of having 0.8 repeating, we'll have 8.8 repeating. So now this is where we're going to set up to cancel out our decimals. So now you go ahead and you keep that equation at the top, and then you're going to subtract the original equation from it. Now this is how we're going to cancel out the repeating decimal. So you would do 10n minus 1n, which leaves you with 9n. Then you're going to subtract 8.8 repeating by 0.8 repeating, and that will cancel out our repeating decimal. And then we're left with 9n equals 8. So now it's just like a normal equation where you solve for your variable. So we are going to divide by 9 on both sides. So we'll have n is equal to 8 over 9. So if you pulled out your calculator and you divided 8 divided by 9, you will get 0.8 repeating. So that shows you how you get from the repeating decimal to a fraction. Alright, let's go ahead and do some examples of different types of numbers and putting them into fraction form. So first we're going to start off with changing a mixed number into a fraction. So we need to do 3 times 2, which gives you 6, plus 1, which gives you 7, and you have 7 over 3, But you can't forget the fact that it's a negative mixed number, so it will also be a negative fraction. So we'll have negative 7/3. All right, now let's go ahead and change the whole number 10 into a fraction. These are one of the easiest ones to do because all you have to do is put the whole number over 1. So our fraction would be 10 over 1. All right, let's go ahead and change 0.8 into a fraction. Now this is just 0.8, not 0.8 repeating, so 8/10. All right, so if we were going to write this into fraction form, we would first realize that the 8 ends in the tenths place. So that means we're going to write 8 over 10 because of the tenths place, and then we're going to simplify. So we know that we are sharing a 2, so we're going to take it out of the numerator and the denominator to put it in simplest form. So 8 divided by 2 gives you 4, and then 10 divided by 2 gives you 5. So your fraction is 4/5. All right, this time we are going to be taking a decimal with a whole number and putting it in fraction form. So since we have a 3 here in the ones place, we know that it's a whole number 3, so we're going to end up with a mixed number. So now we're going to go ahead and put 16 over, we need to think about what our denominator would be. Since 16 ends in the hundredths place, we're going to do 16 over 100. So now we're going to go ahead and simplify because we still have some things to take out. I'm going to go ahead and take out a 4 out of the numerator and the denominator, and I'm going to get 4 over 25, which means we have 3 and 4/25. So that is our new fraction in mixed number form. All right, these last two questions are a little bit different because we are going to look at this type of number and figure out which category or categories it belongs to. So is it a natural number, a whole number, an integer, a rational number, or is it more than one? So let's go ahead and look at -5. So this is a negative whole number. So first of all, let's look in the natural numbers. Are there any negatives in the natural numbers? No, so it cannot be a natural number. Whole number, there are no negatives there as well. And then we have integers, those have negative numbers, so it's definitely an integer. And then rational numbers include everything that an integer is plus some. So we know that it is both a rational number and an integer. So we're going to write rational and integer. So it's more than one type of number. And this number, 0.1 repeating, let's look at it. Do we have any decimals in the natural numbers? No. Any in the whole numbers? No. Any in the integers? No. But we do have decimals and repeating numbers in rational numbers form, so this would be a rational number. Alright, that is all for now, so make sure that you've watched the whole video from beginning to end. Make sure you have all of your notes, including this part up here. Now let's go ahead and do some on your own questions. Alright, you have 5 problems to do for me. These first 4 problems, go ahead and change the mixed number and decimals into fraction form. And this last problem, all you have to do is say what type of number it is. Is it a natural number, a whole number? Is it an integer, a rational number, or more than one? Go ahead and do those, and we'll see what you get tomorrow. Good luck.